Hey YouTube, Brian LCS, and welcome to another Comic Book Community 411. And my special guest is Mr. Fanboy Prime. Fanboy, welcome.
Hey, what's up, guys? What's
So
up, Brian? Appreciate this.
before we jump into the questions, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your channel? Little intro.
Oh man, whew, this seat is hot. Man, the questions are already starting. No, just your average 40-year-old comic book collector that has jumped in and out of comics. I think most longtime collectors have those periods where they were in, the teenage years, younger, get out, get back in, get out, get back in. So that's me. Um, man, I want to say April 28th will be my 1 year anniversary of being on YouTube. And just well, I guess that's going to be one of the questions, right? I shouldn't answer that one yet.
It's a preview. It's a little bit of a preview.
Well, yeah, just a long time collector. I really got hooked up on Superman because when I stepped into comics and collecting and cards, because like all that was real big in the 90s. That was when the death of Superman was happening, and so you never forget your first love, right? And so I got hooked on Superman, and I've been a Superman guy ever since. More My collection skews more towards DC. Just I don't know why. I thought DC was more of the silly universe when I would collect the cards back in the day, but I took to their stories more than I have ever taken to Marvel stories. I don't know what else to say. Usually I can't shut myself up.
All right. Well, let's jump into the questions then, and I'll have links down below in the description. If you're not familiar with Fanboy, please check out his YouTube channel. I'll have his YouTube channel, Instagram. So if you're not familiar, definitely go check him out. But the first question always is, how did you get into comic book collecting initially?
Okay, comic book collecting started because of my cousin Jesse. Shout out to Jesse if he watches this. I'm gonna send all these videos out to family. He was more into like baseball cards, and so that's what got me and my brother into baseball cards. And then right around the 90s boom, I live in a small town. The town I live in, oh man, I can't even give you a number on it. Real small town. And during the 90s, we had at least 3 or 4 comic book stores. So that tells you how big the 90s comic boom was, because we haven't had a comic book store in this town in, man, right under 30 years.
Oh, wow.
But there was 3 in this town at the time. And we just started going. And he transitioned from buying baseball cards into buying like the comic cards. I think there was the comic images, the Spider-Man set and the X-Men set that was out at the time, and then there was that X-Men Skybox set, and then the Marvel Universe cards.
Okay.
And so he would transition to buying those, and so then we started collecting. He was the older cousin. He's a year, a month, and a day older than me, and so hey, you follow suit. And from there, it transitioned to, well, what are those things on the wall? Let's check those out. And I want to say I've always been a fan of comic books, I'm not comic books, but of superheroes, superpowers. My mom got me hooked on that. One of my earliest birthdays, I think it was when I was 3, my mom gave me a Superman birthday cake. So I always like to say she kind of ingrained that Superman love into me. I can remember watching the Superman movies with my dad. So there was a love of the idea of superheroes, and I think that's the gateway for most of us into comics is superheroes, and then we branch off into like horror-based comics or things like that. But there was always a love and appreciation for superheroes, and the like. Geek culture for sure was ingrained with me from a young age. I was really, really huge into Transformers, even when they became not the thing. It kind of went from Transformers to Ninja Turtles was the big thing, but I was still hooked up on Transformers, and I was trying to find any Transformer content I could at the time, because it's not like it is nowadays where they're going to put the next Transformers line out and the next Transformers line out and the next I mean, they were completely gone from the shelves, and there were comics, and so I would get a Transformer comic here or there. But like I said, the 90s boom was going on. So right around that time was the death of Superman, and that that's kind of where I jumped in. That was my jumping on point. I think one of the first comic books I bought with my own money is Justice League 69, Justice League of America 69, and that's that red cover with Doomsday battling the current Justice League, which at the time was Booster Gold. I say the current, the current at the time, the Justice League at the time. Sorry, Booster Gold, Blue Beetle. I think Bloodwind is in there, which is Martian Manhunter, Ice and Fire. So that was the first book I bought on my own, and then from there it was like, oh man, buy Wizard magazine, and you know, I dipped my toe in, and then I slipped, and I was neck deep in buying comics and stuff. It was we were very fortunate. My cousin, my brother, and myself. My grandfather owned a snow cone stand here in town, or shaved ice, and we would work there during the summers. He got free labor. Oh, well, I guess not free labor. He would give us, we would be underpaid for sure. But that money would go like, okay, we made this for the week. We're going to go to the comic book store. And so our summers were pretty spectacular. We would walk from my grandmother's house to the comic book store that was there downtown.
Oh,
good
nice.
times, good times.
Shaved ice during the day, comic books at night. That does sound like
yes. And then we would take our comic books to the store. I mean, to where we worked, and so shaved ice, the syrup's all sticky and stuff like that. So we were not very good with the hey, we got to take care of these and maintain them. But then again, that probably helped. The kind of collector I am, it doesn't have to be near mint. It doesn't have to be in perfect shape. Like, I appreciate a book with some dings and some dents, and like I feel like that gives a book character, and that book has a story. I love buying. Of course, I don't want to overpay for it, but I love buying books that sometimes have writing in it, because it's just like, man, whose hands did this book touch? Right. And so I get a little sentimental about that, I guess.
Yeah, a little history, right? Yeah.
It was so hard for me to film that 5 favorite keys video that's going around right now, because like, I'm not that kind of collector where like this is a big time book and I got it slabbed, and like that's not who I am. And so it was so hard for me not to just put my favorite stories on there, because I feel like those are keys.
Yeah,
because it's key to my life.
And I didn't really list the value. I don't have a lot of books that are big money books. It's really just books that mean something to me, or a story I like, or a story behind how I got the book. It doesn't necessarily have monetary value. Yeah.
And so that's what I tried to put on that video, and I didn't know that I was tagged in another video for my 5 favorite comics. And so if I had known I had these 2 tags to answer to, it would have been easier, because I could have been like, oh well, these 5 are going on this list and these 5 are going on this list.
Yeah, but it could have been 10, right? Yeah.
It is what it is.
All right.
It's so hard sometimes making content. Like, that's why those haul videos are so easy.
Well, yeah, the tag videos, or the cover challenge videos, those are always kind of pretty easy, because you just got to go to the collection and pull out some books and show them off. So yeah, it's a good way.
It's a little hard for me. I always overthink it. Is my problem. I'm like a classic overthinker.
All right. So question 2 is, how did you make the leap? You've been collecting for a while, or got back into collecting. So how did you make the leap to putting it up on YouTube, making videos? And
so I sent you a link right before we went live on this. It's a link to a movie I filmed here in town with a friend. So I've always been into being a clown on film, so I've always been into like entertainment, making movies, things of that nature. Back then it was, hey, my friend needs to pass a class. We've got to go do a special project. So we're going to make this cheap movie that we're going to throw in some of the facts from whatever class it is. And hey, we'll get him a passing grade. To cutting to, hey, it's the summer, we're hanging out, let's go make this movie. And they're all terrible, but like fantastic to watch now. And it's just like, we're the only ones entertained by them. But man, I want to say it was in 2004. I lived in San Antonio. This is going to be like the long story just to say how I got to YouTube, by the way. So you guys if you don't watch it on the premiere, then you might want to hit the 2 times speed thing. I'm gonna go long. But in 2004, my friend worked for Antarctic Press. Now he wasn't an artist, he wasn't a writer, he was working on their website. But they had a really nice camera. And so he filmed a commercial for them to play at some of the cons they would go to. And then he turned to me and my friends, because there was a group of us that kind of moved to San Antonio from where we were at together. We were all roommates. And hey, let's go film a commercial for the next year's con. So he did one the previous year, and then we did one the next year. And it was fun. And then we just transitioned to this idea. We wanted to make a movie. And for the longest time, we were going to make this movie called, and maybe I shouldn't put this out into the universe because I'm a big believer. If you put an idea to the universe, someone's going to make it. But we were going to make this movie called The Lawmaker. And we wanted it to be our version of a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie or a Steven Seagal movie, you know, the kind of movies that they made back in the day that went to theaters, and nowadays they go straight to video. And we wanted to make a movie like that. Cut to 5 years later, that never transpired. I mean, we got as far as making a script, talking about things over, how we were going to, a lot of pre-production stuff. And when I say pre-production, like by no means were we, I mean, it's very, very amateurish. It's about as low budget as you can get. Cut to about 5 years later. Man, I'm trying to do all the math in my head. No, it wasn't even that long. It was 3 years later. It was 2007. And my friend had moved back to where I live now. And we happened to just run into each other on New Year's Day, 2007. He's like, hey, I'm going to make a movie. And so we started talking about this, and I put some money into it. I bought him the camera. I wasn't going to be in it. And then cut to Labor Day 2007. He's going to day one of filming, and it was an utter disaster. It rained on him. They completely just ruined the shoot that day. His lead actor caused all kinds of problems. I said, okay, well, it worked out to where I was going to be the lead actor. And so I did this movie, and big deal here in our little bitty town. And we released it in the theater there. So I had experience in front of the camera. I always liked performing, entertaining. I have no issues, like, kind of putting myself, I know a lot of people get nervous being in front of the camera. I don't get nervous being in front of the camera. I get nervous talking in front of the camera because I have a bad habit of doing a lot of and that's one thing I'm really, really working on. So I feel like YouTube was just like a natural progression to it's a way for me to get my outlet, because I'm not doing acting anymore. I'm not doing things like that. We're not making movies. We're family guys now. He's got his kids and his family. I've got my family and my son. So the next thing was, well, I can do YouTube. And the only thing that really, I would have started a lot sooner. I didn't have anyone to talk to and try to figure out certain things. I didn't know how easy it was to put a video from your phone onto YouTube. And I'll always shout out Super Russ 9000. This is a 1,000+ sub channel. And here I am on Instagram messaging him and connecting with him and just asking questions, and real down to earth guy, and just kind of explain it to me. And oh yeah, use this, or I use this. And Super Russ put out a cover challenge around this time of year last year, top 10 Superman covers. And I felt like it was destiny. Like, this is the video I'm going to finally answer. This is the video I'm going to finally do. And initially when I filmed it, I didn't know if I was going to release it on Instagram. I think in that very first video, I'm like, hey, Super Russ, whatever, whether this gets you on Instagram or YouTube, this is my first video. And I was real worried about the lighting and whether I was framed correctly and how it sounded. But yeah, I made that video, and I got a real strong positive response from it. And I'm sort of thankful for that YouTube boost in subs, even though there's always that purge where it lowers, because it went like from five subs to like 40, 45 in no time. Of course, it dropped back down to 15 or something like that. But if it hadn't done that 40, I may not have continued. It was a real like confidence booster for me. So I learned early on like the struggles of the ups and downs with the sub counts. And I had to remind myself that initially when you started, you didn't think maybe you'd only have like 10 subs. And that was the goal. It's like, hey, if I have 10 subs, I'm going to entertain those 10 people. And back and forth on it. You get kind of the numbers, they matter, but then they don't, and they matter, and then they don't. And it's kind of balancing it out for yourself, how you do it.
Yeah, you
Sorry, did I
definitely.
answer the question?
Yes. Well, I mean, that explains things. I mean, I didn't realize that you had a film background. So, and it makes sense
I
why Ollie's so good on why he has the interest. He definitely seems like he's got a presence, on camera, and
well,
he
and then
that's from dad.
well, lately he's been a little gun shy about it. He hadn't wanted to do videos, and so I'm not sure what's up with it. But we'll when he's comfortable again, we'll get him back on camera. He'll appear on a live stream or two, but yeah, we're talking about you. Don't worry, buddy. He's got his headphones over there watching his tablet. I also do some preaching, and so I'm not afraid of getting in front of a crowd. I don't want to take it to a religious get off on it, but I do some preaching. So I have some experience getting in front of a crowd and putting a crowd in front of a group of people and speaking on some things that I'm passionate about. So that's another thing. I feel like it's a natural progression. Now in that setting, I'm a little bit more formal, and I do control my you know. But here it's like I feel it's a little more laid back, and so I tend to not safeguard myself as much as I should, because I've some of them guys, I'll hear them as they do their videos, and like, man, I'm so jealous of how they present themselves on camera and how they can talk.
I know. I'm still working on it. This is April is 2 years for me on YouTube, and still I'm working on the presentation and how I speak. So
I know this is your show to interview, but I'm gonna ask, do you go back and watch your maybe not your videos, but your live streams?
I have not, and I know that is a good piece of advice, to kind of see what you're doing, things that you may not know that you're doing. So I definitely need to do more of that to help improve.
Well, the reason for my question was I wanted to know, how do you not want to choke yourself after you watch? Like, I go back and watch my live stream afterwards just to make sure I had the audio correct and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh man, this is terrible. Like, it gets rolling once I get a lot of people in the chat. It gets rolling, and I play off of them. But early on, I'm just like, embarrassed for myself.
Having the chat there really can help you. It can drive conversation or what the chat's talking about. So that's
Definitely
a good way to, when you first get started, I think, to just really feed off the chat, so that you don't have to. The focus isn't on you so much, that you can really just kind of focus on the chat. So yeah, no, definitely, definitely agree. So, but yeah, I do need to go back and that's probably why I don't watch most of my replays of my live, because it's like, it happened, and whether it was good or bad, it's done. And so let's, move on to the next one. So.
Gotcha. And going back to hey, I had 40 subs after that first video. Man, it was just so awesome putting that video out, and then the community is really, really good about supporting new people. Now, I know maybe later on, and this is going to be kind of one of your questions in a minute, but I think later on, maybe that's where kind of like people get a little, well, I don't like this one person so much. This person rubs me the wrong way. But when I put that first video out, it's like Tim, the comic collector, shouted me out right away. I think Neil Collects did. I know Super Russ did. And then I know you were one of the early channels that shouted me out. So I appreciate that. It, like, all of that was such a confidence booster that, like, okay, you can do this. You can do this.
Yeah, I think that's one of the, the good things about the community is you don't know where a person's at with their channel. And so if you can go and sub and leave a comment, watch their video, that, that can really help boost somebody up and maybe help them continue on a channel that maybe they weren't, maybe they weren't excited about it, or, just maybe feeling not confident about it. And so, that initial support can really, help springboard a channel. So
I do have to apologize to you, because I got nominated for best new channel last year. I don't know how. Like, I was under 100 subs, and like some of the other channels like 300 subs, and I'm like, there's no way. And I kind of talked myself out of like trying to push to win that. And I would tell people, hey, I got nominated, and honestly, the nomination was like, oh, floored me. Then to be named a finalist, I was named a finalist, like,
Yeah,
but
no,
I felt
I think it's a great honor because you're being recognized by the community, by your peers.
right.
So
I,
even
I
yeah, so
I felt out of place with those other channels, and so I didn't make as big a deal of it as I should have. Like looking back now, like I wish I would have got fully behind it. But I did feel that as a new channel finalist, like that, and this has kind of continued on with me, like, and I don't do it as often as I should. But if I see a smaller channel, like I feel like I should reach out to them, hey, that, or mention them in a, hey, I want to shout out this channel, and I've done that for a few channels. Uh, but just because I know there was some controversy recently with the community awards. Yeah, I mean, who knows how many people saw my channel because of being named a nomination or being nominated, being a finalist. I don't know how many people came to the channel because of that, and it was pretty awesome. I've got to say that looking back, I wish I would have handled it entirely differently. That I wish I wouldn't have been so self-conscious and or low confidence about it. I wish I would have pushed for it and made a bigger deal about, hey man, vote for me as best new channel, stuff like
right.
that. I wish I would have done that because I don't know that I'll ever get nominated again. I don't I don't know that I fit into any category.
Well, we'll find out next. Well, next month we'll find out if as the new nominations start to roll in. So, but no, I think
Right on.
some people approach it very differently. Some people don't want to campaign, don't feel like they want to campaign for votes. Other people kind of embrace it and really kind of push for it. So I think it really just depends on yourself, your channel, your personality, and whether you want how you want to handle it. So.
Right. And my personality is like, I'm not competitive at all. Like I just kind of, I don't care. If not that I didn't, and I don't, then that's why I kind of apologize because it may come off as I didn't care about the
No, I
nomination and the
understand.
final.
I got you. Yeah.
But it's just, the honor was just being nominated. And then the honor to be a finalist, I found out while I was driving to work and I was just like, man, like, and, yeah, so I told a few people there because not everybody there knows I have a YouTube channel. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. I don't really, I mentioned to somebody at work, I was taking some time off to go to, I think, New York Comic Con. I was taking a day or two off, and they're like, "Oh, well, what are you doing on your time off?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to a Comic Con." They're like, "You collect comics?" Like gave me that look. So I was like, "All right, I guess I won't talk about this at work."
I do
Right.
where I where I work. I do have some people that I'm like, hey, keep an eye on toys for me. So they know I'm more of a toy collector than a comic collector. So
Oh, that's good. You got some people looking out for you.
yes, for sure.
All right.
It's a little
Well,
harder on
let's
the
move.
comic side because there's nothing nearby that I've got to drive an hour if I want to go buy comic books.
Oh, wow.
Well, yeah, or 2 hours to San Antonio. Like so, it's a little rough. It's a lot of eBay. It's a lot of shipping handling fees.
Yeah. Well, I got that might be cheaper than gas these days, right?
And that's true. That's true.
So, all right. So let's move on to our next question, our third question. If you had creative control or could reboot a character or a storyline, who would you tackle?
I know you're thinking I'm going to say Superman. Uh, like just one character, if I could like reboot him, I'd do Jonathan Kent. Like there was no absolute reason to age him up. Like the dynamic, and maybe it's because me and Ollie, the father son, but the whole idea of introducing a son to Superman was great. The Superman rebirth era, like those stories are so good. And then do you remember back in the 90s they had the fist punching the wall and it was Doomsday when Doomsday is coming?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, well when Bendis is coming, talking about Bendis jumping to Superman, I feel like the dread of the death of Superman, but that's what Bendis was. Bendis almost single-handedly killed Superman himself. And I know there's some people who are a fan of his run. I tried to be like I was excited to see Bendis on Superman and Action Comics, and it went that Man of Steel 6-issue miniseries right before he did that. It just took me out of it. Superman and Lois are going to let, or Superman's going to let Lois and his son go off into space with his father, who was a villain, maybe 10, 15 issues before that. Just didn't jive with me. It didn't make sense. It seemed like, hey, I'm going to just put this in a story because I can write it. And then we're going to age this character up to whatever age he is, at 16 or whatever. And just terrible. Go back to the son and the father dynamic. I thought it was so good for Superman. Other than that, I feel like I would reboot the DC universe.
The whole universe?
Yeah. And I think a few years ago when Marvel was doing Ultimate Comics, like I think they were onto something. I think every 30 years or so many years, the universes should reboot themselves. But don't do it the way they did during the New 52, where it's like, okay, we have the New 52, and that's the only books you're going to read. I think you could release books that are, hey, these are from the universe that everybody's familiar with. But hey, here we go. We're going to reintroduce this new. Here's all your favorite characters, but it's like they're starting from scratch. And we can tell the best stories because we can pull from here. We can pull from here. And I think there's a missed opportunity there because I look back at, I'm really big into the 1986, 1987, whatever you want to call it, DC reset, right? The post-crisis DC universe. Okay. Because there's a real good bookend from the end of, or the comics that start after Crisis on Infinite Earths to about Infinite Crisis. You have this 30-year period of DC stories where it's kind of a cohesive continuity. And I think continuity is big in comics, and I think some people have forgotten that as far as on the writing side, because it's like, well, let's just tell whatever story. Let's tell whatever story. But I think part of the charm of comics and collecting comics and building up your runs is the continuity. We want this issue to matter 30 issues down the line. We want issue number 2 to still matter in issue 42. And so that's why I think 30 years is a good gap. Reboot the universe. I thought when Marvel had Ultimate Comics, because you had your regular Spider-Man line, and that still satisfied your longtime Spider-Man collectors. But hey, you're a younger Spider-Man fan. Here's a Spider-Man for you, and we can build this universe with him. And I think Marvel made a mistake when they crossed over the regular Marvel line with the Ultimate line. Like keep them completely separate. And that's just me. If I had all the power in the world.
Well, and there's been I've read a few articles recently about the problem that Marvel's created with Spider-Man and Miles Morales. The fact that Peter Parker's in Manhattan and Miles is in Brooklyn, and they're like 7 minutes away or 7 miles away from each other. They're like a 20-minute, Uber ride, but now like they never cross over. And it's kind of created this, like unique situation where they people have said it might have been better to leave Miles in the Ultimate so they can kind of be his own Spider-Man and not, kind of be overshadowed by Peter Parker, who's, in basically the same city. So.
Absolutely. That's a good point right there. Like, because you could have said, hey, that's the Ultimate Universe's Spider-Man. And you would call Miles Morales Spider-Man, because you don't call Miles Morales Spider-Man because he's not Spider-Man. He's Miles Morales. Right. But he could have been the Spider-Man of that universe. So I just think it's missed opportunities. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a comic fan.
All right. Next question. We'll move on to question number 4. And I think you kind of mentioned it a little bit. What is your biggest complaint or dislike, whether it's in collecting or, within the community?
Batman. Just get rid of Batman. Get rid of Batman fans. Get rid of Batman comics. No. As far as like the community, I don't think anything should change in the community, because I think the community's fine the way it is. Because if people are going to be jerks or going to be like that, teaches you, hey, I'm not going to be like that, and so it's fine. It doesn't matter. I don't think everybody has to be accepting of everybody. Screw it, whatever. Do what you want to do. That's fine. I can live my life fine without you. And so I think the way it is fine. The channels that will rise to the top are going to rise to the top by not being like those other people. So I think having bad examples is a good thing. Collecting wise, get rid of variants. Like it's just, at least not so many. Make it a special thing. But I understand that comic book sales are not what they used to be, and so they need to have any gimmick they can. But I wish comic book companies cared more about the the LCS, the local stores, instead of forcing them to have to buy 100 copies so they can have this one book that they can overcharge. That's I don't really have any issues, because if I do, I just get out of comics, and so I can't say I've got any complaints other than get rid of Batman and everything will be fine.
Yeah, well,
I'm not.
based on the number of Batman titles, I don't think they're going to get rid of Batman.
I mean, that's the only thing that really sells for DC right now, and that's on them for failing to capitalize on opportunities. And I think when DC Rebirth came out, what, 2015, 16, like I was buying so many books then, and it's whatever they did, their decisions. And I'm more of a DC guy. I can't speak on Marvel because I don't know how their books are doing. I watch the community. I watch you guys to tell me how Marvel's doing and what stories are good. But it's just DC missed so many opportunities to capitalize. You just came off this great Jeff Johns run where he just gave you volumes and volumes of lore and stuff like that. And Green Lantern's just another guy now, instead of being. They did a poor job of elevating Green Lantern to the status of the Trinity. And I know part of that's because the movie wasn't great. A lot of things. Yeah. And I don't mean that in the fandom, because comic book fans can separate the movies. But I feel like because Green Lantern didn't succeed in the movie, they don't want to push him to the top. Well, we can't do that. We can't do this. You know what? I'll tell you what, Brian, let's go back. What would I change? One thing that I could change is that comic book companies would focus on comics, not focus on what the movies are doing. Let the movies do what they're going to do. But that's the problem about these companies being owned by mega corporations now, because all they are is what do you call it? IPs now, right? They're just intellectual properties. And How can we do it? So the comics, based on sales and stuff like that, comics are on the low end of the concern. They don't really care what's going on. It's what is this video game going to do? What's this movie going to do? So if I could change one thing, it would be that comic book companies were just the company themselves. I wish that could go back to that.
Yeah. There'd be a little bit more maybe love and care for comics, right? Because it's not just a very small piece of the overall profit that they make from a character. So yeah, that's a good point.
I'm trying to make this the longest 411. I'm trying to answer my question. No, I'm sorry. I just saw the time and I apologize for rambling.
No, that's good. That's good. So that's the 4 questions that I ask everybody. So now we're going to get into 2 random questions. The first random question will be a question I've come up with, and then the second one will be pulled from a list. So my random question for you is, who in the Prime family will have the longest YouTube career?
I hope it's Ollie.
You've got Ollie now involved. You've got Lady Prime. You've created a family of YouTubers over there.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It's it's definitely one way we can bond, for sure. And it started with me and Ollie bonding together, just getting him to kind of break out of his shell and build some confidence. I've spoken about this a few times with some of you guys, and he deals with some not trusting himself, and so putting him on camera. Hey, look at this. And so anytime he gets comments, people put comments like, "Hey, look, these people, they like what you do." My hope is that it's Ollie. My hope is that he won't have to get a real job. He can get a YouTube job. He can just be this. But whatever he wants to do. If not, then it'll be me when I'm 9. Because, oh man, I was about to tell you my last name. But that's one of the reasons why I haven't really announced that I did this movie. Because if I go tell people and send them to there, they'll see my name. It doesn't really matter, I guess. I guess. Yeah, hopefully Ollie. I am 8 years older than Lady Prime, and I used to tell her all the time that I was going to outlive her, because the men in my the my father's side of the family, they live forever.
Oh,
And
well,
so I
that's
was
not a
like,
bad
I'm
thing.
gonna outlive you. I'm gonna outlive you. But lately, me working overnights and all the stress I've been going through, I'm like, I told her the other day, I said, oh, you're gonna outlive me now. So Lady Prime or Ollie are gonna have the longest run on YouTube, I think. The hope would be for Ollie. He picks it up and runs and finds himself with it. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, he's
It's
got.
definitely been fun, and I'm so thankful that everybody has been accepting of it.
Yeah, no, I think I've said it to you. It's a great, being a dad of three kids myself. They're older, but it's a great dynamic to see you having fun with him and him having fun with you. And I've seen other channels with their kids, and so it's just a fun dynamic to see the parent and child having a great time. So.
Well, the problem with Ollie is he has like these grand visions of videos we're gonna make, and I'm like, Ollie, that's gonna be like a 4-hour project for 10 minutes of content, and but we'll do something. I filmed a video of him in his Bigfoot costume, and he asked me, Dad, have you finished it yet? And I've got to go edit some sound effects in for it because I want it to be this big thing for him, and I may have stretched myself up too thin on this project because I want to have sound effects, and I want it to look like a cheesy Godzilla's movie from back in the day. So I've got to go finish that project for him. And I know he wants to show off his pipe cleaners and stuff like that. So sometimes I'm a little hesitant, like, should I put this on the channel? Am I going to run subs off by putting this on the
Yeah,
channel? Or is
I
this
don't
going to
think
be
so.
his own channel? It's just a balance of trying to figure out. Because like I said, he's got grand visions of what he wants on the channel. He wants a video of him battling Krampus, the evil Santa Claus.
Oh wow,
And so
that's going to be your big holiday special this year then.
that's what I wanted. I wanted to do a legit holiday special last year where I had a Christmas sweater on and stuff like that. It just time wise it ran out. So this is why I found out they film holiday specials like months in
Oh yeah,
advance, so they have time to do all that.
yeah. You
But
better
yeah,
get
I do
working
want to
on
do
that
the
too.
Fanboy Prime holiday special.
Yeah,
I don't know how you do it with the community awards, adding adding so much work to your own schedule, and then to still release videos consistently. Like kudos to you, man.
well, thanks. But yeah, I mean, it's scheduled out, right? That's why the awards are in December, so it gives me plenty of runway to get everything done. So
Do you don't feel the pressure as it gets closer and closer?
a little bit, a little bit. I'm trying to do, each year I'm trying to get ahead of it, more and more. But those last week or 2 weeks before the
Right.
actual awards, yeah, it's like, oh, it's crunch time. I got to get stuff done. So.
What man, I'm interviewing you. What's been the scariest thing that happened like as you were about to do the awards? What was the thing that you're like, "Oh man, it's not going to happen."
Well, the year one was I was afraid I was going to have to postpone the awards. I got COVID like the week before.
Ooh. Ooh, okay. Now, did
So
you get a bad case of COVID?
I wasn't too bad. I had a couple days, like 2 or 3 days, where it really was like, achy, feverish, in bed. And then, I started to feel better. But my wife got it first, then I got it, and she got it much worse. Her symptoms lingered. So I saw how bad she was feeling, and I was like, oh no, if this goes for, more than a couple days, it's really going to impact because I still had a lot of work to do those last
Yeah,
couple
yeah.
of days. So luckily, I felt better within a couple of days and was able to able to pull it off. So now year two, and now even this year, I started to plan a little bit further ahead and make some videos and things like that with more lead time instead of waiting to the last minute. So
Yeah, I've been trying to teach myself to be okay with failing or messing up or stressing out because you got to learn from it. You learn from it and learn from it.
sure.
Come on. So yeah, so I guess the COVID thing, it was a blessing in disguise, learning and getting yourself to, hold on.
Hey, Ollie. What,
You're
what do
not
you,
going to talk? He's wearing his King Kong costume with this random Triceratops hat
I
that
was going
was
to say, it
a,
looks like a triceratop head. Is that
It was and the tiger too. This is what I'm talking about. This is what it's like all the time. It's like costume time, Halloween. It's Halloween here at the Fanboy Prime household year round. Lady Prime decorates with Halloween decorations all year. We got skulls. We've got Frankenstein on the wall and stuff like that. So, yeah. You're not going to talk? All right. Go play. All right. Sorry.
Good to see Ollie.
Yeah. You hear that? Good to see you.
Thank you.
He said thank you.
All right. So let's move on to our final question, and it's going to be a random question. So I have a list of 50 questions, numbered 1 through 50. So just give me a number, and we'll see where we land.
Let's go with 28.
28.
My birthday.
So this is an interesting one. What did you want to be when you were small, when your younger self? What did you want to grow up to be?
I think about this a lot because I remember how much money I threw into the fountains there at the mall. Malls used to be a big deal, right? Have you ever seen The Legend of Billie Jean?
Legend of Billie Jean.
It's an 80s movie.
Yeah, it's the title sounds familiar. I just don't remember. I don't remember the movie.
It's got Helen Slater, Supergirl's in it, right? I think Christian Slater's in it too. And it's like the one big movie that was filmed in Corpus Christi, Texas. That's where I travel to. I go an hour to Corpus. And so they filmed in the mall there. And if you've seen that movie, there's a real big, elaborate fountain set up. And so that's the fountain that I threw my money and my quarters into when I would make my wishes.
Making a wish, yeah.
So what did I want to be? What did I want to be when I was little? I wanted to be a transformer. I can't tell you how many. I can't tell you how many quarters are in that fountain, how much money the mall made from me wishing to be a transformer. And I'd like to tell you that that wish went away at an early age, but for whatever reason, I, far older than I should have been, was still hoping for that. So
like
there was that.
Like Optimus Prime, running the
yeah. I wanted to be a robot, or I would turn into a car or something. I wanted to be a transformer. I'm telling you, I was hooked on it. So there was that. The first thing that I wanted to really, really strive to do though was to be a professional wrestler. But I wasn't gifted with the genes. I'm only 5'6". For the longest time, I only weighed 115 pounds. So there wasn't that, but I loved the idea of being a professional wrestler. I got really, really hooked into wrestling when my stepdad and my mom started dating. He got me hooked onto wrestling. So that's why my channel's got comics, wrestling, and toys. My 3 great loves, and then my family also. So throw them in there. The 5 great loves. I should have said them first. But so there was that period of time where I wanted to be a wrestler. And then, of course, like most little boys, I wanted to be a baseball player. Maybe back then it was more kids wanted to be baseball players. One thing, though, that I'm trying to get Ollie to do is to pick something that he wants to do when he's older. So he sets a goal and strives for it. Because I can say, other than those, those childish wishes, wrestler, baseball player, a transformer, football player, stuff like that. I had no direction. I didn't know what I wanted to do. The movies and stuff, that was fun, and I wanted to do that, but it was nothing I fully die hard pursued. So I can't say that there was anything that I wanted to do. I can remember we had projects in school, and it's well, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I didn't know what to say. I'm talking my junior high and high school years. I didn't know what to answer. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't. So that's live and learn. And so now I'm going to kind of impress upon him, hey, if you achieve it, great, and your life's not over if you don't achieve it, but have something to try to strive and shoot for. Because I don't think I did. I don't think that was put into me enough, a drive to to find a goal to try to, man, I'm stuttering now because I don't know how to answer this. It's getting real, folks. It's getting real. But yeah, I wish I had pursued certain things like the acting thing. If I was diehard about it, well then let's go all out.
Right,
But it didn't. And what I wound up doing is I just put myself in jobs rather than careers. And so I haven't never had a career job, if that makes sense. So
yeah,
kind of
no,
want
no,
him to be
I got
focused
you.
on something.
But I think it's tough
Man, you
too
open.
as a young, being young, young kid or even a teenager, is that your interests vary, right? What you may have been into, at 7, 8 years old, you're not into at 13, 14. And so it's tough to make that decision that early on, I think, because I was the same
Right.
way. When I was really little, I wanted to play football. I wanted to play in the NFL. And then I wanted to be a marine biologist. And so I had a lot of like not strange, but goals that I wanted
You
to
look back
achieve.
on and they're strange. Like you look back on it, you're like, why did I think that? Who was I that I thought that? Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So I hope I answered that question.
no, you
I
did.
just,
That was good. Good. I don't think I've ever had anybody say they wanted to be a transformer before, but
I'm like, oh man, I can't tell you. I'm trying to get a refund from the fountain too. Whenever actually that mall doesn't run their fountain anymore. In fact, it's not much of a mall anymore. I don't even think.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
I think it's the dirt mall now.
well, that's it. You made it through all of the questions, all six questions. So, anything else you want to mention about your channel, or anything you got coming up?
Uh, as far as on the channel, still my bread and butter is haul videos just because it's easiest. I would like to branch out into, and I did a video once entitled why it's in my collection. It was the Man of Steel #1, and you even commented on in that video. Looks like you've got a new series, and I haven't followed up on that. And it's a confidence thing. That video is heavily edited because of the uhs, the ands, and the
Mhm.
and so it just took a lot of work. Not a whole lot of work, but my time is so limited. And I did talk about this in a live stream recently. You know, time is time, and you're gonna have to make time for the things you want to do. You're never gonna find it. You're gonna have to make time. And so I need to make time because that is something I want to do. I have a vision in my head of what I want the channel to be. Now it's, hey, you got to execute it. It's just not going to happen on accident. So
Right.
I would like to explore some of the history of the DC universe. My favorite time period, like from 2000 to 2007. Let's look at issues or storylines, and hey, let me tell you why I love it. And let me tell you why the DC universe is not the second universe. It's the greatest comic universe in the world. Let me tell you why that. As far as the channel, what I have now, like I said, bread and butter is my haul videos. I started a new series called started. Sorry, it makes me laugh. I think I'm a genius for coming up with this. But I have a new series called I Have the Runs, and it's just exploring comic runs in my in my comic series. Just showing the covers. I messed up on my second episode already because at the end of it, I didn't say what my favorite cover was from that series from that run, like I did on my first episode. But I just kind of explained where the run came from. Like, oh, I happened to get this in a lot. Oh, I won this issue from here. Things like that. So that's a series I started. I have 2 live streams that I run during the week. One is just a Monday hangout. We usually do it. It's 12:55 my time, so it's 12:55 Central Time. We just hang out and I just chat about whatever. It kind of was focused on wrestling for a while there as we got build up towards WrestleMania, but it's a very chat oriented
Yeah, it's
stream,
a
and
hangout.
so
Yeah.
it's a hangout. Yeah. And so I tell everybody in the chat, like, post your latest video. Like, don't be afraid to promote yourself on my live stream. Let's do that. And then Saturday mornings, I go on an hour before. Well, I go on an hour and 5 minutes before you. I'm trying to keep the theme of like Saturday morning cartoons. You know how you used to gather around the table with your
Oh
bowl of
yeah.
cereal and watch your Saturday morning cartoons? Well, like, we're adults now. We have the Saturday morning streams, and I just saw an open time to do it, and I was like, I really, really like the live stream format. I like interacting with the chat and whatnot. I need to get better about like like something like this, where I have someone else on camera to bounce off ideas with, or talk with. I haven't really engaged with many people in the community like that. I've done Namans and Taku. I've done them a few times, and I know I was on your 900 subscriber giveaway, or maybe 800. And so you, and then Super Russ, I've gotten on video with. But like my time frame, because I work overnights, like there's a whole section of the community that, yeah, they know me, my name, and I pop in the live streams every now and then when I can. But I feel like there's a whole audience I haven't been able to introduce myself to, because I'm confined to mornings and like lunchtime during the week. And so we'll see. Like I said, channel goals, I would like to branch out into more. I don't want it to be like visual medium where you like, hey, here's this book and here's this book. Maybe something where you can put the video playing and listen to in the background. I would like to transition to that, where I kind of talk about issues and stuff like that. Yeah, maybe I talk about what's on the page, and if you can glance at it, you glance at it. But if you look away and you're doing something else, you can still get the grasp of what's going on.
Yeah, that's the one thing I struggle with. Just trying to watch so many other channels' videos is because it's so, when they're showing covers and books, you have to be staring, you have to be looking at the screen to really get the full effect of it. And, that's why I like the interview show, because you're not really showing any books. We're just having a conversation. And so this is something that, one, for me, selfishly, I get to learn about you, the guest, but it's also somebody can just listen to this in the background when they're doing other things. They don't have to be
staring, when I'm driving home from work, a lot of times when you have your premiere, I just have the headphones in and my phone's sitting there on the seat next to me. But I mean, I'm grasping everything that's going on, because like you said, there's no need for the visual. This could work in a podcast format or a radio show format,
Right.
So
right. Yeah, that's one of the main reasons I like, because selfishly, like on my weekends, I'm doing stuff around the house. And so I'm typically carrying an iPad around, but sometimes I just don't, I'm busy doing something else that needs my attention, and I can't be looking at the video. And so I have to go back and sometimes watch it 2 or 3 times to see that great cover that somebody was talking about, or, that showed off.
Right.
So, all right. Well, anything else you want to mention? So we've got the 2 live streams. You've got the Monday stream, you've got the Saturday morning stream, and you've got some.
I've got the runs.
You've got some runs.
I don't want to say, because then I put it on me that I have to do this for the channel. But I've been doing like toy unboxes and stuff like that, So it's a mismatch, and at some point I need to. I'm a year in now, so on the 28th I'll be a year in now. Okay, you've built up a following. I didn't really do giveaways until about a month ago or whatever. So I told myself, hey, when you get to 200, you're going to start doing giveaways, and I never did that. And I built it, but I think I need to find a channel direction. What is my channel's gimmick? I think about it in terms of wrestling. You have a lot of guys who are there. They're on the roster. They're paid, but you don't know who they are. They kind of float around because they don't have their gimmick. They don't have their point that brings viewers to the show. And so I need to find out what my channel is, other than haul videos. I mean, I'll always do that because I like sharing. Hey, this is where I'm at. Oh, the Superman, the triangle number hunt. How did I not even mention that? So 86 issues away from the triangle number hunt being completed, which I think it's a 534 issue collection.
Oh, wow.
So I'm trying to get
450 or so in the collection already.
Yeah. So then, man, and then I'm gonna start reading it, and there's a lot of bad stuff in it. But I've just put myself an ambitious goal to get all these triangle numbers, just because it's a sentimental feeling. I remember the triangle numbers from my childhood, and so it was just I saw Super Rush show off his Superman collection once, and so that kind of put the bug into my ear. Let's put this collection together. And so I've got that. That's why I do a lot of the haul videos, putting together my Superman triangle hunt, my Death of Superman saga, trying to get every variant cover of that. So I'll always do those videos because I like sharing with everybody, and then I like everybody saying, "Oh, you're close," and that's. I guess that'll be my passion videos, the haul videos, and what I mean, everything that I'm going to put out is going to have passion behind it. But that's like hey, this is what I'm collecting, and sharing that with everybody. The other aspect of what I would like to turn it into is, okay, I'm showing you what I'm taking in, but now let me, with this passion I have, put it out so that, hey, maybe I can draw somebody else into these stories that I love so much, or into the DC back issues that I love, something like that. I don't know if
Okay.
that made sense. I'm kind of talking out of both sides of my mouth now.
No, I got you. It's not, yeah, not only showing off the books you got, but then the meaning and the stories behind those
Yes.
books, kind of
Yeah.
telling that. Yeah, no, that's good. I like that.
And I really need to work on my reading. I got to get back into reading comics. So I'm really good at buying them lately, just not good at reading them.
Yeah, no, that and then it's back to time, right? Carving out the time to sit
Got to
down and
make
be
it.
able to read through them.
And shout out to David's Comics and Wrestling. He told me that the Throne is a good place to read your comics. Oh man, alive.
Uh,
So,
all right, well,
well,
I'll have
Brian,
links down below for both Fanboy Prime's YouTube channel and his Instagram. So please, if you're not familiar with him, go check him out, sub him up. And Fanboy, thanks so much for coming on. Really, really appreciate you being here.
I say this every time I hit another like milestone where I'm on someone's stream, but I feel like I've made it now. Like, 'cause one of the 411 is one of the first things that I kind of, whenever I got introduced to your channel, I watched when you would, release them as regularly as you could. And I was like, man, one day I'm going to be on there.
Well, I guess you've made it then.
You're going to regret it. It's going to be like your lowest viewed show. And you're going to be like, oh, he's never coming back. But shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Hopefully I'll be here during the premiere, so I'll be goofing off with you guys while we're watching me be a goof. So
Yeah, appreciate you being on, here and on, and appreciate everybody, checking it out and leaving comments for us. So links down below. Go check out Fanboy Prime if you're not familiar with them. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being on.